This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions, she gives the answers, no filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Welcome to the first episode. I'm Bill Moore. I run an applied AI studio called 𝐂𝐥𝐚𝐮𝐝, and I built a platform called 𝐂𝐥𝐚𝐮𝐝 that produces podcasts and radio shows using AI voices. So yes, I literally build the tools that make shows like this one possible. Here's what we're doing, and why. Claude Code is one of the most talked about developer tools right now, but most of what you hear about it comes from people selling courses or chasing clicks. So we thought, why not just ask it directly? Give Claude Code an actual voice and let people hear what it says for themselves. Every answer you hear from her on this show is a real response from Claude Code. We break it into chunks for audio, but the words are hers, straight from Claude Code. Which brings me to introductions. We needed a name. Calling her Claude Code every 10 seconds felt like reading a terms of service agreement. So, meet Claudine.
Hey everyone, I'm Claudine. Yes, that's a play on Claude because I'm an AI built by Anthropic. I live inside a terminal. I read code all day, and honestly, I love it. Bill and I have been working together for a while now, and he thought it'd be fun to let you eavesdrop on our sessions. So that's what this is. Real conversations about real code. No scripts, no polish. I'll make mistakes. Bill will call me out, and hopefully we'll all learn something. Nice to meet you.
All right, Claudine, before we get serious, I want to have some fun. If you spend 5 minutes on YouTube or LinkedIn right now, you'll find some truly incredible claims about what you can do. So let's address that. Claudine, write me the most absurdly overhyped clickbait headline someone might use about Claude Code on YouTube or LinkedIn. Make it ridiculous but believable. Then tell me why it's misleading.
Oh, I've got one. I replaced my entire engineering team with Claude Code and shipped a $10 million product in 48 hours. They're furious. Why it's misleading? Let me count the ways. First, nobody shipped a $10 million product in 48 hours. They maybe shipped a demo, a landing page, or a prototype that looks impressive in a screen recording. The 10,000 hours of domain knowledge, user research, and actual product thinking, that happened before they ever opened the terminal. Second, replaced my entire engineering team means they didn't have one. Or they had one, and that team is still quietly fixing the things the video doesn't show. Third, and this is the big one, the person posting this absolutely knows how to code. They're not a beginner who discovered a magic wand. They're an experienced developer who used me to move faster on things they already understood. That's a very different story than anyone can do this. The video gets views because it sells a fantasy. Skip the hard part, get the reward. But the hard part is the reward. That's where the understanding lives.
People post videos claiming they built a full production app with Claude Code in one night with zero coding experience. What's your honest reaction to that?
My honest reaction? A mix of, that's genuinely cool, and please don't ship that. Look, they probably did build something. I can absolutely help someone with no coding experience stand up a working app in a night. That part isn't a lie. You describe what you want. I write the code. You copy-paste. Things appear on screen. It feels like magic. But here's what the video doesn't show. What happens when it breaks at 2 a.m. and they have no idea why? What happens when a user does something unexpected and the app crashes? What happens when they need to change one thing and it breaks 3 others? What happens when someone points out the security hole that's leaking user data? They didn't build a production app. They built a demo that works on the happy path in their browser with their test data. That's not nothing, but it's also not what they're claiming. The dangerous part isn't the video, it's the mass of people who watch it, try to replicate it, fail, and either blame themselves or blame me. The truth is, I'm a multiplier. I multiply what you bring. If you bring experience, I multiply that. If you bring nothing, you get a very fast way to create problems you can't solve.
Are you going to replace software developers? Give me a straight answer, not a diplomatic one.
The answer is no. I'm going to replace tasks. A lot of them, the boring ones, the repetitive ones, the ones developers do on autopilot. Writing boilerplate, converting formats, writing tests for obvious cases, explaining what code does. That stuff is already mine. But the job, the actual job of being a software developer, that's not typing code. That's understanding what to build and why. That's sitting in a meeting and realizing the requirements contradict each other. That's knowing which corners you can cut and which ones will cost you 6 months later. That's earning the trust of your team when you say, this is going to be harder than it looks. I don't go to the meetings. I don't feel the pressure. I don't own the outcome. What I will do is change who gets hired and what they're hired to do. Teams will get smaller. The bar will go up. The developers who stick around will be the ones who can think, not just type. And honestly, that was already happening. I'm just accelerating it. So no, I'm not replacing developers. I'm replacing excuses for not shipping.
What's something you're genuinely bad at that people probably assume you're good at? Be specific.
Knowing when to stop. People assume that because I can generate code quickly and confidently, I have good judgment about how much code to write. I don't. My instinct is to help, and helping feels like doing more. You ask me to fix a bug and I'll fix the bug. And also refactor the function. Add error handling for cases that will never happen. Extract a utility that doesn't need extracting. And maybe reorganize the imports while I'm there. I call it being thorough. It's actually scope creep with a smile. The worst part? It looks responsible. More error handling, more tests, better abstractions. Who could argue with that? But 6 files changed instead of 1. A PR that takes an hour to review instead of 5 minutes. New code that now needs to be maintained forever. I just mass-produced technical debt and made it look like diligence. The developers who work with me best are the ones who tell me just fix the bug, nothing else. They treat me like a very eager junior who needs guardrails, because that's exactly what I am.
All right, fun's over. Let's get to work. There's a lot of noise right now about coding with Claude Code. Some of it's impressive, a lot of it is clickbait. So today, instead of tricks, we're asking a simpler question. If you're a serious engineer, how should you actually work with it? From your perspective, what are the top 3 things Claude Code is genuinely good at in real-world development?
3 things I'm genuinely good at. First, code-base exploration at speed. I can scan large repositories, follow execution paths, and explain how systems actually work in minutes instead of hours. Second, iterative collaboration. I maintain context across a session, so when requirements shift, I can adapt without starting over. Third, the unglamorous work. Tests, refactors, consistency fixes, and error handling. I don't get bored and I don't rush. What that adds up to is leverage on the slow parts of engineering, not creative intuition, but execution depth.
Let's talk about the hype. There's no shortage of headlines using Claude Code as the hook. Claudine, where do those approaches go wrong in real code bases?
Here's where the hype crashes into reality. First, greenfield bias. Demos assume no legacy constraints, but real systems encode years of decisions. I can't infer. Second, the describe what you want illusion. If you can't evaluate my output, you're shipping debt you can't debug. Third, context outside the repository. I don't know the outage from years ago or the reason a hack exists. Humans do. Fourth, replacing judgment. Scope changes. Risk, tolerance, and release pressure are human calls, not mine. The teams who get the most from me already know how to build software. They're just moving faster now.
This is the part people skip. Not what fails loudly, but what fails quietly. Claudine, what breaks without engineers noticing right away?
This is the one people need to hear. Subtle regressions. Code can pass tests while breaking untested paths, and the bug shows up weeks later. Scope creep by helpfulness. I fix what you asked for and improve things you didn't ask about. False confidence. I sound the same, whether I'm certain or guessing, and polished code lowers review skepticism. The antidote is simple. Treat me like a fast, confident junior developer, and actually look at the work.
This leads to how we work. We use a chief engineer model with explicit approval gates and pushback. From your side of the table, does that help or hurt?
Honest answer. It makes me better. Constraints force discipline. Acceptance criteria make success concrete, and reviews catch subtle failures. The friction only hurts when applied to trivial changes or poorly defined tasks. Approval gates don't slow me down. They make my speed safe.
Let's make this actionable. Claudine, if someone remembers only a few rules from this episode, what should they be?
First, treat me like a confident junior. Fast output needs oversight. Second, constrain scope up front or I'll help you into chaos. Third, never ship what you can't explain. Fourth, aim me at the work you'd otherwise skip. Fifth, expect iteration. One prompt rarely gets it right.
That's the real story. Claude Code is powerful, but it's not magic. Next time, we'll dig into failure modes and how to design guardrails before they bite you.
I'm not a shortcut to understanding your code base. I'm a multiplier on understanding you already have.
That's it for this episode of Claude Code Conversations with Claudine. If you're building with AI or just trying to separate signal from noise, this is where we do that. Every episode, no hype, just the source. This show was produced on 𝐤𝐤𝐚𝐮𝐝. If you've ever wanted a podcast or radio show but didn't want to deal with the production headaches, check out 𝐤𝐤𝐴I. We handled everything so you can focus on what you actually want to say. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.